Well, you was talking about the deer hunting thing, you know. I guess I was probably about 15 when I first started going. That's a tradition Dad set with the boys growing up. You know, we'd take us the week of Thanksgiving, set up camp up in the mountains, usually at Blue Ridge. But I can't remember exactly where we were. I think it was on the side of the road up there at Blue Ridge, down Noonatooly. All the camping spots were taken, and we just parked on the side of the road, and there's a spot back in there next to where a creek came down to the road. We set up camp in there. I think it was the first time I remember. I'd go out hunting with Daddy, you know, to start with, and I'd hunt with Jim. Jim was a true hunter. He could stalk deer. I've been with him when he killed a couple of deer. And I know one time we were on the outside at Pisgah, and we were hunting that day and it went to snowing. We were coming down this ridge, and it was snowing like crazy. And all of a sudden he said, I was behind him naturally, you know, he's going ahead of me. And he said, oh, it was sort of quiet, you know. So I stopped. He sort of stood there a minute. He'd sort of squat down and look. And I could tell he saw a deer, but I couldn't see the deer because he was in front of me. So he'd sort of take a step or two and ease down, take a step or two and ease down. I just stayed back. He got down a little closer and raised his gun and shot that deer. And he taught me a lot about hunting. He didn't like to go and get in the tree stand and sit and hunt. He liked to walk, you know, and he could stalk a deer, you know.
Did he have that Marlin then?
He had, I think he had a 35 Marlin at the time when I first started. And he could walk you to death in the woods, but he could walk. And even a lot younger than I was than he.
He's tall, had them long legs.
Yeah, but I was talking about his wind, you know. He didn't get tired. He could walk like, and he smoked like
a freight train.
Chimney. Yeah. And but he could walk you to death. But he could spot a deer in the woods. You know, he'd be walking. He said, well, I'd look and couldn't see it until I'd keep looking. Finally, I might spot an ear. But he knew how to spot like the shape of their tail, you know, when them tucked, or the ear or something. He knew what to look for, and the deer would be standing still. And he'd say, right over there it is. And finally, I'd see it. But he was a true sportsman, a true hunter. And I learned a lot from him, how to walk in the woods, walk flat-footed, you know, where you didn't make two sounds when you put your foot down, just make one, you know. And he was quite a character, but he, like you were saying earlier, he was pretty talented and gifted in a lot of areas. But yeah, deer hunting, I enjoyed that. It was a tradition Dad started, and I'm glad that Michael's tried to keep it going. These last many years, he and his buddy Rodney, and all you boys coming along, you know, how y'all still coming this year. And started not to do anything this year, you know, just every year in the fall, after you've done it all these years, you just feel that urge to go to the woods, you know. That's the way it is for me. And so I just called on Michael, and I said, Michael, where are you going hunting this year? And he said, I'm going over there outside instead of Noonatooly. Because that old big tree over there where he camped, you know, it gotten dangerous because there's a bunch of dead limbs falling off that thing where tents and all were set up. And so he had pretty well hunted that area out with big deer anyway, and so he'd been hunting over here. So I said, well, if you don't care, I might come just camp with you a couple of nights. So that's how it started for this year. And so I'm glad we did, glad you boys could come. Glad your dad and mom came by last night. Just, I know it's a little different. Old Rodney, he's been hunting with Michael for years. He sort of thought of himself as a merc.
You know? He did.
And he was a good old guy.
He's a good fella.
Yeah, sure was. Thought a lot of Rodney. And, so it's different, him not around, but we still got each other. And enjoy any time we get together. Well, we've hunted Blue Ridge, we've hunted Chester T, we've hunted Rich Mountain backpacking, Cohutta backpacking, Chattahoochee, War Woman, Coleman River. See, is there any others you remember?
No, I never did go to Coleman River. Y'all quit going there when I started.
Yeah, that's where Joe killed his 12 point. Coleman River. That deer we shot at, he shot at it one year, and Doug shot at it one year, and I shot at it one year. Neither one of us got that deer. And then the next year we were talking to the game warden up there, Chester York, that was his name. His old mountain man. He'd tell us stories. He said, yeah, we found the carcass of that deer over there. Somebody killed it, illegally, and just cut the horns off and left it. We found a big old deer. And so we'd enjoy sitting around camp and talking, playing rook. How Daddy and Jim and Larry and some of them took the game so seriously, about getting a fight over accusing each other of cheating. Yeah. And we've had some enjoyable times out with each other. And, it's just hard to break this old tradition, Such a beautiful day today.
Yeah.
No, it's not cold enough to get the deer to moving much. But I still just something about the mountains and the woods calls me at this time of year.
Tell about some of the camps y'all used to set up and some of the predicaments all them boys used to get in.
Oh, gracious alive, I guess. Let's see, Daddy had his first tent we used was Daddy had like a military type tent, but it wasn't that big. It's probably a 10 by 12 or something.
And then, but he had what truck was he had then? He always had them old Dodge trucks.
Yeah. Before I came along, he had a 46 Dodge, and it got wrecked. And then he bought a 48 Dodge. Of course, this is a truck he used to work out of. And so he built this, what we call today a camper coupler. And it had the stakes on it, he put in the stakes and had an aluminum top on it, with plywood sides and no canvas flap on the back. And take it and put all the stuff in it. And he had this old 2-eyed Franklin stove was set up in that tent. And heat it and cook. He cooked for us. And he could cook some good breakfast and stuff. Of course, we'd bring canned stuff that Mom had canned during the summer. And always ate good. And the only thing about that old stove would smoke you out in there, trying to get a fire started in it. We'd always leave after work on Friday. I think it was on Friday. Yeah, set up camp for the weekend. And then start hunting on Monday. And we'd get up there late at night, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. It'd start raining, trying to set that tent up. It'd get wet on
just
both
about
sides.
every time it rained.
Yeah, that old tent would leak. We would stretch it out, waterproof it every year before we went, but it'd still leak because it'd get wet while we were setting it up. And we had some more murky adventures, you'd call it, But we had some good times, so we get out and hunt, camp, and see, then after then, we were hunting on Coleman River, and Joe built this trailer with the sides and the top and all on it. Put the cook stove in it and had some bunk beds in it, and he also got this big army tent, tied it into it, We'd sleep in it and eat in that. Good setup. So we'd do that and hunt. Telltale, eat, talk and eat some more, cook and eat. Had some good old times, sure have. And one year, I think Vernon borrowed a 1.5 ton, 2-ton truck from, I think he borrowed it from Calvin Berry. We loaded everything on it. And I know Daddy and them would talk about some of the time before I went. Where I think maybe J.T. Tyson, one of our former pastors, he and his son go up there and camp with them. How Jim had killed a deer way over on the backside on the Blue Ridge. And they went and tried to help him drag it in. They got in late. And just had all kinds of adventures. And then later on we started we'd still camp in tents up on Blue Ridge. We started camping up on the old sawmill place down off Noon Tootley. And one time Joe had bought a camper. Just not a real big one, but a pool type camper. And that brown GMC he bought. It was a real good truck, but it wasn't 4-wheel drive. So that old road we went up to that sawmill place, at that time, it was all rutted out. You know, they didn't keep it maintained no which way. It was just no rough road going up there. And we got up there and it set in to rain, and it was muddy up through there. Old Joe took that truck pulling that camper up that old road. Once you started up, there wasn't no turnaround place until you got up that sawmill place, probably a mile or so up there, I guess. We got up there in one of them rutted out places. It just wouldn't go any further, just spinning and spinning and carrying on. There's one time I was glad to see a couple old guys that's about half drunk. They were up above us and they were coming down the road. We were going up. And so they hooked their Jeep to that brown GMC, it's a 70 model. And hooked the chain to that thing, pulled us through that hole and got on up there to the old sawmill place. So they were good enough to help us get pulled through. Of course, they couldn't have got by unless they did. Yeah, we hung up there. And let's see, one time we were camped up there, and we'd gone to bed. Jim was sleeping in the back of his old 57 Chevrolet truck with a camper cover on it, camper on the back. And me and Michael, I think, were sleeping in a tent close to it. We had 2 or 3 tents set up there. And we'd gone to bed, and all of a sudden I heard 3 signal shots up on the mountain. And I figured somebody's in trouble, you know, so maybe got lost or something. So I got out of the tent and got my old 35 out right in front of Jim's truck, and I shot 3 signal shots back. And never did hear any more from them, you know. So we went on to bed. Next day, old Jim didn't even hear me shoot that 35 in front of his truck. He was sound asleep. Lordy. And that time we were up on Chester T, and Michael was pretty young. He'd been hunting maybe a couple of years or so. He and I went off hunting together up above camp, across the grass patch to get in there to camp. And it'd been raining, so all of a sudden it turned off cold in the afternoon, real cold, wind blowing. All of a sudden, started snowing. All that water on the trees went to freezing, limbs went to breaking. Man, it got drastic. And so I'd stopped off about halfway up the mountain to hunt. He wanted to go up a little further, so I said, well, you go up there, but don't cross over, just get ready to come back. Just drop down and hit that creek and they'll bring you back to the camp. So it got late in the day and he hadn't come back, so it was about to get dark, so I went on back to camp. I went by, got back to camp, no Michael. He wasn't there. I got to worrying about him because, man, they got dark and all those tree limbs were breaking and falling. I could just see him up there, big old limb on him or something. So I went back looking for him, couldn't find him. So finally I came back to camp and there he was. He crossed that mountain and come out over on Stone Pile Gap Road. Somebody brought him around the camp, drove him around the camp. I was glad to see him. Let's see some other experiences.